All right. So now that we've talked about, what things you should be thinking about when you're trying to get into cybersecurity, we've also talked about, how to approach it, what exact steps you need to take, what you need to be doing as far as picking a career or picking an area that you want to focus on. And we also went a little bit deeper into that, and I gave you a breakdown of several different technical, non-technical, and hybrid types of cyber positions. And what I promised you is I'd show you a way to actually get some hands-on without having to build a lab environment, without having to spend years searching around on the internet, finding the pieces to put together yourself. And that place is the Infosec Skills website. Now, let me just explain to you. There's 500 courses here. There's 100 labs and over 800 hours of training. And a lot of this training I developed, I authored it, and put some of it in here. But there's many, many other authors and content developers that have contributed to this. As a matter of fact, I spend a good amount of time on here myself, taking training and learning about things that I wanted to get a little bit sharper with. For example, I'm right now going through some of the courses on secure programming and stuff like that, just for my own benefit. So I drink the Kool-Aid. I'm not just telling you this is a good thing. I drink the Kool-Aid myself, and let me dive into it and show you exactly what it looks like. So once you subscribe and create an account for yourself, one of the things you want to look at when you get in is if you go right to learning paths, you can see that there are paths created for whatever it is you're trying to focus on. All right. And there are different approaches to that, as far as whatever certification. If you want to get your CISSP, there's 18 hours of training for that. And that's a high level management type of certification for the industry. Incident response, this is a path that I created, and we're going to dive into this in a little bit because I want to show you just what that is. But if you want to get into machine learning for red teams, blockchain, CEH, like whatever it is, we've got the materials in here that's recorded for you to actually subscribe through and get into. This includes your cloud stuff, your AWS, your Microsoft Azure. It's all in here. Now, my content is primarily the ethical hacking, the incident response, the threat hunting, most of the offensive stuff. But we're going to take a dive into the path for incident response, and I'll just show you kind of quickly the way it's laid out. Now, the first little bit here is pretty much fundamental stuff, like it's videos. And when I go into the first video, show you what you get. It's just me going through the presentation here. All right. I'm showing you statistics, talking about the industry in general, that kind of thing. And I'm just kind of going through it. All right. After we spend a little bit of time, a couple of hours or whatever, going through the high level stuff, looking at the policies, procedures, how to build a playbook, business continuity, how to build an incident response team and all that, then we get into actually going into more of the technical side of it. So for example, this first part here, we talk about specifically preparation, and we look at the different criteria for preparation. We go into detail about identification, like how you identify an incident, how you classify it, how do you allocate resources to it and all that. But all this is still soft stuff. It's more management and high level strategy on it. But eventually we get down into the hands-on stuff. And in the very first video here, I go into detail about how to install Zeek, which is one of the primary tools that we use for network forensics. So as with all of these courses, I'll introduce this session with, kind of some slides to talk about what we're going to do, but only about a minute of that. And then we jump right to the Kali terminal. And you can hear me talking there. Well, I'm actually going through and talking you through how to get it installed, how to set it up, where to get it from. And then we get into how to use it to take a PCAP or live and break the traffic down. In this particular instance, I'm saying we can pull out just timestamps. Then we can add source and destination IP. We can use the unique identifier, pretty much just going into the nuts and bolts of Zeek and showing you how you can use it to do some pretty awesome and pretty technical network forensics here. So as you can see here, this thing is growing. We went from just having timestamp and unique identifier and protocol to we're adding to that source and destination IP. Then we're adding source and destination IP and port. And I'm just showing you step by step via your commands how to add this data to your output so that you can see what's going on with the traffic. And this is just the one intro video to Zeek, right? Now, after you finish watching that one, there are several more. There are hours. I've got 4 hours of just hands-on net forensics and memory forensics here. Everything from Zeek to there's a pretty in-depth session that we've got in here for extracting artifacts out of memory using volatility. Even things like taking the artifacts and extracting it out and putting it on virus total or checking to see if it's malicious. And we can actually see that kind of going on here where we're pulling actual, information out of volatility here. This is from a raw memory dump. So you learn how to do that. And the best part of this, one of the things that I added in here is kind of a bonus. All right, after you go through all my videos on how to do this and you're wondering, how can I follow along step by step? Well, I've thrown in here, number one, you get a completion certificate that says you completed all the training, but you don't get all that until you go into the project. And there's actually an exam that I've put out to see if you can answer technical questions about this content. But more importantly, there's actually a project, okay? If you start the project, what you get is, number one, I've given you my own customized version of Kali. So I've taken Kali, installed Zeek on it, customized it, and even put all of the project files on there for you so that you can follow me with this instructional and do the exercise with me. In addition to that, I'm giving you 2 projects. These projects are actually, 2 real world cases, types of cases. There's memory dumps, there's traffic files, and you will have to use the skills that you gained in taking the entire course here to actually solve these 2 projects and submit that. And when you're done, you get a completion certificate that shows that you've, completed these 2 real world projects. And these are not easy. They're definitely not easy. And you will have to use the techniques that you learn to be able to answer the questions and solve these cases. So this is just one path, guys, one single path. Now, generally we charge a lot of money, or I would charge a lot of money for just a course like this for that. But in addition to that, you get all of the ethical hacking stuff that I've put in here. For those of you that have taken CEH from me, everything that I cover in that course, plus a lot more, you have it in here. This includes labs and all kinds of other things. Now, let's say you finish the course, you finish ethical hacking, you finish the incident response, you're solid with Kali, you're solid with all the other stuff, and you say, well, let me go back and I just want to sharpen up my Linux skills. Well, guess what? You can now, go into your skills and actually go to the cyber range. And now you can pick based on what it is you want to learn. It doesn't have to be a specific path. You want to go and learn all the fundamentals of Linux. You can go right to the Linux cyber range. And there are many hours, 19 hours of exercises in here where you're just sharpening your Linux skills. No hacking, no security, but just getting solid on Linux. Because one of the number one questions I get from people about coming into security when they take an actual class from me is, man, I wish I'd known more Linux before I got into this class because it slowed me down. Guess what? Get in here, get in this range, spend some time in here, go through, get your Linux chops up. That will not be something that you have to say anymore. You want to get into sharpen your skills on networking, CCNA, Cisco type of stuff, go right into the networking one. You want to just work on command line basics, traffic analysis. You've always wanted to learn how to code in Python because everybody in security says you need to know Python. Don't go no further than right here. This little 2-hour session is a great introduction into Python code security and doing it securely. There's C code security, C++ code security, and all kinds of other types of exercises in here that's in the cyber range. And the cool thing about it, let me just go into the cyber range and show you how it works. So if we go into the basic Linux commands here, as it builds the environment, and it only has to build the environment one time for you per that session, as you go through and type the commands and do learn Linux, do what it tells you over here, when you enter it correctly, like I'm going to enter pwd like it says, it actually gives me a confirmation that like, hey, you got the command right, you got the expected output. And let's say I come in here and I jack this command up. I'm going to do user and I'm going to spell bin wrong. Well, it's going to give me an error message and it's not going to let me move on until I get the command right. Okay. So once I get that right, and then I get pwd, let's just do pwdd. Let's misspell it, not right. If I do it right, I get the green thumb. So as you're learning, it's giving you the reinforcement here to let you know whether you got these things, the commands right or not. And there's quite a bit of detail over here in the discussions that's telling you what it is you're doing and what you should be learning. And that's for, again, there's many hours. There's 9 hours of that. Of just Linux, learning Linux, basic Linux commands and that type of thing. Now, all of this is out here for you. And this to me is the best place you can go after you've done all the other things I said in the previous videos in this series, as far as picking what it is you want to focus on. Go right here, jump into Infosec Skills. Now, the most important part and the best part of this, if you sign up for this, remember to use my exclusive discount code, which is Evans50. That's EVANS50. You can see it on the screen there. If you use that code, you get 50% off of the cost of this. Now, this thing, to have access to all these courses and all these paths, it's $300 a year or $34 a month. Okay. If you use my Evans50 discount code, what you get is you get all of it for $150 a year, which is half off, or $17 a month if you go to monthly route. Now, I'm telling you for sure, you will not find anything anywhere out there in the industry. There's a whole lot of free capture the flag types of sites and things out there like that, but that is not a complete training and learning package. Those are mostly designed to see if you can prove that you can do these things. This is an entire learning package. And the part I like the best about it is some days when I jump in here, I'm really interested in getting deep in the weeds on technical stuff. So I'll get into some of the coding things and start looking at the machine learning and working with those algorithms and that type thing. But some days I'm not in that mood. Some days I really do want to live at a high level and kind of step back from the weeds and look at the overall and sharpen my skills on the non-technical stuff. So I'll come in here and I'll jump into the CISSP path and look at a specific topic or concept that I'm interested in for that day, right? Because what I found out over the years is this is how we learn. This is how we learn. I don't sit and focus for 8 months straight on just technical content. I do that until I'm tired of that or until my brain's starting to hurt. Then I will back away from that and focus on some other high level stuff. This is how we learn. This is how we live our lives. So having access to all these different paths to where you can kind of jump back and forth and focus on this thing for a while. And what happens with me a lot of times is I'll be in something like CISSP and I'll be looking at something down here that's got to do, with system security or something like that. So when I look at it and I see, some tool about that or something that's related to that, what ends up happening is I'll go and say, wait a minute, let me go see, what that tool actually looks like. They're saying in here that Nmap does this. Let me go check that because I don't think that's the right switch for Nmap. Well, I can jump right over here to skills, go right to the cyber range, go to one of the hacking types or the ethical hacking pen testing skills paths here, go into the Linux fundamentals, the TCP IP, or maybe the Nmap session, go into my Nmap cyber range here and just see, let me see if they know what they're talking about. If I do Nmap and, scan that site and scan for a specific port, and I do a SV scan, will it actually give me version probe identification information? All right. And just that quickly, I can jump over here and see if it does. And it's like, yep, it absolutely does tell me the version. So, hey, they were right. Now I'm done with that. I'm like, okay, great. I don't really want to go through the whole lab, but I just wanted to see if that one nmap command was correct. And then I can jump right back to my the CSSP path I was on. So never leaving this environment. And this is what I'm so excited about, is in being able to show you this and offer it to you as part of something that I've contributed quite a bit of information to. But the whole concept of using, doing the project in my path that's got to do with incident response, I think this is something that you guys are going to get a lot of fun out of. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to be challenging, but you're going to learn a lot and you will appreciate it. So thank you for watching this entire series. And truly my goal here and truly my hope is that those of you that are struggling to figure out how to get into the industry, taking these series of things that I've shown you here in this entire video series and applying them. And most importantly, when you've picked an area, jump into skills here. It's $150 a year using my discount, or $17 a month, and sharpen those skills to where when you go for that interview or when you go to sit down and do that technical interview, you've got this stuff all nailed down. And I promise you it will help you be more confident and more successful when you're trying to get that job. Thanks again for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in skills.